Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving into the world of writing nonfiction,
Okay.
but not just any nonfiction.
Right.
We're talking about how to write a book that's genuinely useful.
Yeah.
You've sent us some excerpts from Write Useful Books by Rob Fitzpatrick,
Okay.
and it's packed with advice on creating books that people will actually recommend and keep coming back to.
Mm-hmm.
We're here to unpack the most valuable insights for you.
Right.
The book emphasizes making books that are what Fitzpatrick calls deep.
Oh, okay.
Desirable, effective, engaging, and polished.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, expert speaker, which part of that deep equation do authors struggle with most?
I've worked with a lot of authors over the years,
Yeah.
and I think the biggest stumbling block is effectiveness.
Okay.
Authors often get so caught up in the writing itself,
Right.
crafting beautiful sentences,
Yeah.
finding the perfect metaphor,
Yeah.
that they lose sight of the core value their book is supposed to deliver.
Right.
They may pour their hearts into a manuscript, but they haven't truly considered whether it solves a real problem for their readers.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's like that saying, you can have the fanciest can opener in the world,
Right.
but if it doesn't actually open cans, what's the point?
Exactly.
And Fitzpatrick really drives this point home by highlighting the current state of the publishing landscape.
Oh.
He says that with 1 million new books published every year, just being good isn't enough.
Wow.
Your book has to be usable to stand out and gain traction.
Exactly. Think about it.
Yeah.
Your own bookshelf.
Hmm.
How many books have you bought based on a catchy title or a glowing review,
Oh, yeah.
only to find that they didn't live up to the hype?
So many.
Those books might be enjoyable, but they're easily forgotten. The books that stick with us, the ones we recommend to others,
Nate?
are the ones that have genuinely helped us learn something new, solve a problem, or achieve a goal.
Yeah.
Those are the books that provide lasting value.
So how do we ensure our book provides that kind of value?
Well,
Yeah.
Fitzpatrick argues that it all starts with understanding your readers deeply.
Okay.
He calls for having reader conversations before you even start writing.
Interesting.
But these aren't your typical, what do you think of my book idea conversations?
Yeah.
These are deep dives into your readers' lives, their needs, their challenges.
Mhm.
It's about getting out of your own head and seeing the topic through their eyes.
I see.
He even tells a story about a chess master who wrote a best-selling book,
Oh, wow.
not by sharing his own expertise,
Yeah.
but by listening to his students' thought processes.
Interesting.
He realized that even as an expert, he had forgotten what it was like to be a beginner.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I love that story
Me too.
because it highlights a crucial point.
Right.
We as authors
Mm.
often suffer from the curse of knowledge.
Yeah.
We assume our readers know what we know,
Right.
and we forget what it was like to struggle with the basic concepts.
Exactly.
But by truly listening to our readers,
Yeah.
by understanding their specific needs and challenges,
Mm.
we can anticipate their questions,
Right.
address their concerns,
Yep.
and create a book that delivers the value they're looking for.
That's the goal?
Fitzpatrick breaks down these reader conversations into 2 types.
Okay.
Listening conversations, where your goal is to understand the reader's experience,
Right.
and teaching conversations, where you're actually testing out your content to see if it resonates and makes sense to them.
That's a good way to put it.
He even suggests teaching parts of your book before it's even written.
Wow.
I imagine that could be quite nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it can be.
But it also seems like an incredibly valuable way to get early feedback and refine your approach.
Absolutely. It reminds me of how stand-up comedians test their material in small clubs before they film a special.
Oh, yeah.
They're looking for those moments where the audience laughs,
Right.
where they get confused,
Mm-hmm.
where they check their phones.
Yeah.
Those reactions tell them what's working and what needs to be reworked.
Makes sense.
Writing a book is no different.
Right.
By teaching sections of your book to potential readers,
Mm-hmm.
you could see firsthand where they get lost,
Yeah.
where they're engaged,
Okay.
where they need more explanation.
I see.
It's like prototyping your book in real time.
And a key tool for both writing and teaching your book, according to Fitzpatrick,
Yeah.
is a detailed table of contents.
Oh, interesting.
He really emphasizes that it shouldn't just be a list of chapters.
Right.
It should be a blueprint for the learning journey you're creating for your reader.
I like that.
He actually contrasts a vague table of contents from a wilderness survival guide
Okay.
with his own super specific style,
Mhm.
and the difference is striking.
Wow.
His table of contents almost reads like a mini course outline,
I see.
with each chapter clearly outlining the key takeaways.
That's a fantastic point. A well-crafted table of contents
Yeah.
acts as a roadmap
Oh,
for
okay.
both the writer and the reader.
Okay.
For the writer,
Yeah.
it helps to ensure that the book is structured logically
Right.
and that each chapter builds upon the previous one.
Makes sense.
And for the reader,
Yeah.
it provides a clear overview of what they can expect to learn from the book
Mm-hmm.
and allows them to easily find the information they need.
Right.
Think of it like the menu at a restaurant.
Oh, I like that.
A good menu not only lists the dishes,
Yeah.
but also entices you with mouth-watering descriptions that make you want to order everything.
I love that analogy. It's a promise of the value that's to come.
Exactly.
And speaking of promises, Fitzpatrick talks about the importance of clearly defining the scope of your book,
Okay.
making it clear not only what the book is,
Right.
but also what it isn't.
Interesting.
He shares a story about April Dunford, who wrote a book about product positioning.
Okay.
Apparently, publishers wanted her to make the book appeal to everyone,
Oh, wow.
which sounds like a recipe for disaster.
I can see that.
But she held firm, focusing on a specific audience with specific needs.
Yeah.
And her book became a huge success.
That's such an important lesson. Trying to please everyone usually ends up pleasing no one.
right.
By narrowly defining your target audience, you can create a book that is truly valuable and impactful for that specific group of people.
Okay.
And that's ultimately what leads to word-of-mouth marketing, positive reviews, and long-term success.
I see. It's about focusing on the right people.
Exactly.
Speaking of impact, Fitzpatrick has this really interesting concept
Yeah.
of the reader's journey through a book being like receiving value over time spent.
That's interesting.
We are essentially investing our time in exchange for valuable insights.
Okay.
And if the value doesn't come quickly enough,
Yeah.
we get bored and move on, right?
I think we've all been there.
He even admitted to abandoning a book recently
Oh, wow.
because it didn't deliver the goods early on.
Ouch.
That must be a tough pill to swallow as an author.
Yeah.
To know that someone put down your book because it wasn't engaging enough.
It's got to be tough.
But it makes you think, doesn't it?
It does.
We've all been there,
Right.
flipping through a book, waiting for it to get good.
Absolutely.
So how do we make sure our book captures the reader's attention from the start?
That's the big question.
Fitzpatrick has this really cool concept. He calls it front-loading value.
Okay, front-loading value.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Front-loading value is all about getting to the good stuff quickly.
Okay.
He uses this analogy of teaching chess to a child.
Okay.
As an expert, you might be tempted to start by explaining all the rules,
Right.
how each piece moves, the concept of checkmate, all the technicalities. But for a beginner, that's a surefire way to make their eyes glaze over.
Yeah, for sure.
Instead, you want to get them playing, experiencing the joy of the game,
Okay.
and then introduce the rules as needed.
Right.
That's front-loading value.
I see.
You give the learner those quick wins, those early insights, to keep them engaged.
Okay.
And, you know, it's amazing how this applies to so many things beyond writing.
Oh, yeah.
Think about a great movie or TV show.
Okay.
They always grab your attention in the first few minutes.
Right.
They don't waste time with a lot of setup or backstory.
Yeah.
They throw you right into the action.
That's so true. It's
Yeah.
like they know they only have a limited amount of time to hook you
Yeah.
before you change the channel.
Exactly.
And I guess it's the same with a book. You
Mhm.
have to grab the reader's attention early on
Yeah,
and make them feel like they're getting something valuable out of it.
for sure.
But how do we actually do that?
Okay, good question.
How do we front load value in our writing?
Well, Fitzpatrick has a few suggestions.
Okay.
One is to start with the big reveal.
Okay. The big reveal.
Basically, give away your main insights right up front.
Interesting.
This might seem counterintuitive to some authors
Right.
who are used to building suspense or saving the best for last.
I can see that.
But Fitzpatrick argues that by sharing your most valuable insights early on,
Yeah.
you build trust with your readers.
Okay.
You're showing them that you respect their time and that you're committed to helping them achieve their goals.
I see.
The rest of the book then becomes about providing the tools, techniques, and strategies to put those insights into practice.
I can see how that would work.
Right.
Here's the secret sauce. Now let me show you how to make the entire dish.
Exactly.
I guess the fear is that if you give away the big reveal at the beginning, people won't feel need to read the rest of the book.
Yeah, that's a valid concern.
What do you think about that concern?
It's a valid concern, but I think it's often unfounded.
Okay.
Most people don't just want the what. They want the how and the why as well. They want to understand the context, the nuances, the practical application of those big ideas.
Yeah, they want the whole picture.
Right. And even if someone did just read the first chapter and walk away,
Okay.
wouldn't you rather have them walk away with your key insights
Yeah.
than put the book down entirely out of boredom?
That's a great point. I think it all comes back to that idea of usefulness.
Yeah.
If your book is truly useful, people will find value in it, even if they only read parts of it.
Right.
But of course, we want people to read the whole thing, right?
Yeah, ideally.
And to make sure the entire book is as strong as it can be.
Okay.
Fitzpatrick is a big advocate for beta readers.
Oh, I agree. Beta readers are so important.
He says you should start beta reading early.
Right.
Even with a messy manuscript.
Yeah, it's better to get feedback early.
What kind of feedback do you think is most valuable to get from beta readers at that early stage?
Early beta readers can be invaluable for validating your core ideas.
Yeah.
And identifying any major gaps in your logic or presentation.
Right. Yeah.
You want to ask them,
Yeah.
is this making sense to you?
Okay.
What questions do you have? What parts are confusing or boring? You're not looking for polished prose or perfect grammar at this point.
Okay.
You're looking for feedback on the substance of your book.
Substance over style.
Exactly.
Is it delivering on its promise?
Right.
Is it truly useful?
That's what you want to know.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's like having a test audience for your ideas before you invest months polishing the final product.
Exactly.
And he stresses that you shouldn't be afraid to start beta reading.
Right.
Even when the manuscript is rough.
It's better to get that feedback early on.
Okay.
When you still have time to make major changes.
Right.
Than to wait until the book is finished.
Yeah.
And then discover that you've missed the mark.
Completely missed the mark.
Right.
Now, he doesn't just talk about getting feedback on the content itself.
Okay.
He also talks about paying attention to how your beta readers are engaging with the material.
Oh, interesting.
Are they highlighting certain passages?
Okay.
Are they sending you emails with questions or comments? Or are they going silent?
Right. He argues that those silent drop-offs are often a sign of boredom or confusion.
I see.
A signal that you need to rethink the pacing and delivery of your value.
That makes sense.
It's almost like you have to become a detective looking for clues in their behavior.
It's true. You have to read between the lines.
Yeah.
Where are people disengaging?
Right.
Where are their comments thinning out?
Okay.
Those are the areas that need attention, even if the feedback isn't explicit.
So you have to kind of read their minds a little bit.
That's it. Yeah.
Remember, you're designing an experience for your readers.
Right.
And that experience needs to be engaging from beginning to end.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes the most valuable feedback is the feedback that's not said.
That's a good point.
It's like when you're telling a joke and you get crickets.
Oh, yeah.
That silence tells you everything you need to know.
Exactly. Silence can be deafening.
So true.
And sometimes the most direct feedback is the best kind.
Fitzpatrick shares this anecdote about one of his beta readers who gave him the ultimate feedback. This is fluff. I don't like fluff.
Wow. Straight to the point.
Short, sweet, and brutally honest.
And that kind of feedback,
while
it might sting a little, is incredibly valuable.
Absolutely.
It's easy to get attached to our writing,
right,
to see it as a reflection of ourselves. But we need to detach to see it as a product that needs to deliver on its promise.
That's a good way to look at it.
Negative feedback isn't personal.
Right.
It's an opportunity to improve.
I agree.
It's like that quote from Stephen Pressfield.
Oh, yeah.
The problem isn't you, the problem is the problem.
I like that.
You and your readers are on the same side, working together to make the book the best it can be.
It's a team effort.
It's a collaboration, a partnership.
Exactly.
And speaking of partnerships,
yeah,
I think it's time we move on to the next phase of Fitzpatrick's advice.
Okay, what's next?
Seed marketing. Oh, yeah.
How do we get our book, this amazing, useful book we've poured our heart into, into the hands of those first crucial readers?
That's the big question.
That's what we'll explore after a quick.
Hold on. Before we move on,
okay,
I think it's worth emphasizing
that
even though we're talking about getting feedback and making changes, you can't let the fear of negative feedback paralyze you.
Right.
At some point, you have to trust your gut.
Okay.
Trust your process and put your work out there.
Right.
Don't get stuck in an endless loop of revisions and second guessing.
That's a good point.
So they say.
Yeah.
Done is better than perfect.
Oh, I love that.
Right.
Such a good reminder.
Yeah.
All right, with that in mind,
okay,
let's dive into the world of seed marketing.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned. Wow, expert speaker. That was quite a journey through the world of write useful books.
It was.
I feel like we've unpacked so much valuable advice for aspiring authors. Yeah, Fitzpatrick really covers it all.
If you had to pick just one nugget of wisdom from this book to share with our listener,
that's a tough one.
what would it be?
I think the most important takeaway is this.
Okay.
Write for your reader, not for yourself.
Write for your reader.
Yeah, it sounds simple, but it's something that many authors struggle with.
Right.
Especially new authors.
Yeah.
We get so caught up in our own ideas, our own experiences, that we forget who we're really writing for.
It's like Fitzpatrick says, better to be loved by someone than ignored by everyone.
I love that quote.
Instead of trying to appeal to the masses, focus on serving a specific audience, solving their problems, exceeding their expectations.
It's about making a real difference in the lives of your readers.
That's a great point.
And it's not just about the content itself.
Right.
It's about the entire reading experience.
Okay, the reading experience.
Yeah.
How are you structuring your book? Are you front-loading value?
Right.
Are you making it easy for readers to find the information they need?
Exactly.
Are you using language they understand?
All important questions.
Are you designing your book with the reader in mind?
At the end of the day, that's what matters.
It's so easy to fall into the trap of thinking, if I find this interesting, surely everyone else will too.
I've definitely been there.
But the truth is, what might fascinate you might bore someone else to tears.
That's so true.
And that's why those reader conversations are so crucial.
I agree.
Talk to your ideal readers.
Yeah.
Understand their needs and challenges. Test your ideas on them.
Get that feedback.
Don't be afraid to ask for feedback.
Right?
Even if it's tough to hear.
Sometimes it's the tough feedback that helps the most.
Remember, you're not writing in a vacuum.
You're not.
You're writing for an audience.
Yeah.
And the more you understand that audience, the more successful your book will be.
It's all about the reader.
I love that.
Me too.
It's like you're building a bridge between your knowledge and your reader's needs.
That's a great way to put it.
And it's an ongoing process, right?
It is.
Even after the book is published, you can continue to engage with your readers, respond to their feedback, and even update your book based on what you learn.
Absolutely. Writing a book isn't a one-and-done deal.
Right.
It's the beginning of a conversation.
Okay.
A relationship with your readers.
A relationship.
And the more you nurture that relationship, the more impact your book will have.
So, dear listener, if you're dreaming of writing a book, don't just write it.
Okay.
Design it.
Design it. I like that.
Design it for usefulness, for impact, for connection.
It's about creating something meaningful.
Write the book you wish you had read.
Yeah, write the book you wish you had read.
Pour your heart into it. Test it rigorously.
Okay.
And don't be afraid to put it out there.
The world needs to hear what you have to say.
The world needs your voice, your perspective, your unique contribution.
Exactly.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Write Useful Books by Rob Fitzpatrick.
It was my pleasure.
We highly recommend checking out the book if you haven't already.
It's full of great advice.
It's packed with even more insights and actionable advice.
Yeah, you won't regret it.
And until next time,
keep
learning,
keep creating,
and keep diving deep